Hello, New York City. Hello, America. Hello, nations, modern nations. We are in a semi-ancient trap that came since before religions. Thank God if we all look at it the same way. This reveals better than positive out of negative. It reveals the bond between three identities of positive, but that are bonded the same way a cell nucleus, cell body, and cell wall is bonded. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. The bar itself. See, with this is forgiveness is, and the religions had to take counter positions to where and how since before modern, since semi-ancient times. They criminally re-engineered the original nature of human education, of scientific reception, of evidential reception, sequence reception, identity reception. So we have identities of jobs. We have identities of titles. We have identities of locations. In this trap, for example, that is also tactically denatured identity of the ground and value between that and our fact treatment nature relationship to the identity of the ground as conceived as modern nations zoning laws, for example, pathology of infrastructure, of means to it, of how they have all identities of jobs associated with economies and value nature systems recorded as effectively having been maintained self-valued captive entities, regardless of it, forced to defend, only capable of defending positive treatments opinion-wise as experts of the law by reliance upon contrast to other identities of nations. Instead, not correlations words, which are the words of the nature of the law, many ways effectively prevented free speech, and anyone who tries to speak about it using our means with correlation natures, with sequence true, using the order, the value of the order of the finite, the value of sequence true first, that's inseparable from the value of the order of the finite simultaneously, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. The way the identity of relativity per science, not per theory, is demonstrably bond between the order of the finite, the smallest thing. There's no order to that, grouped and together in relationship to one identity that is coming to, from, while being as, while being with, and while being for each identity of value progression, while being for it the way it will only stay positive unto itself. See, but this is per a value nature system tactical ulterior from ours. And it demonstrates that, because now we're not on its system, but through criminal foreign influence, criminally re-engineering of it, and self-value rolls with that. Fact you need what excuse me, since semi-ancient times. This just reminds vaccines. So then that's self-defended. Then what happens? You have a style of fact human nature in relationship to nature, where we have, see, the nature of the identity of the cell nucleus is distinct from the nature of the cell body. It's distinct from the nature of, as the identity of the cell wall. But they also have a shared identity. So truth is relative. We have offensive theory of relativity, with delusions wrought in criminally foreign influenced. Uses of that, intersciences, uses of obfuscations of this identity of relativity, that both the predicate act of the law and I'm not a lawyer, and we're going to delineate the delusions from the criminally foreign influenced fact treatments and identities, self-valuing it, identities of jobs and of titles simultaneously used remotely, originally, and still. That's why and how all victim predators child abused, modern nations identities of law, child abusers. Through this, effectively, each branch of government, each modern nation, each location's stewards of sciences, they are effectively having been maintained and being maintained, not realizing it, abridged identity of the ground relationships, abridged fact treatment nature relationships to the abridged constitution. So it wasn't prejudice that prevented the surface values of the Constitution. It wasn't prejudice that prevented Martin Luther King from connecting the value of the order of the finite with sequence true, and with the value of the order of what is our active quality of fact treatment nature true at the same time, and our progressive value and our identity's value, which is recorded effectively and still maintained all locations, areas, and states. Identity thefts, racketeering, identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering, self-valued roles, breaching screens and tools, not by accident, reliant upon justifications of their integrity through contrast, and or simultaneously where there is exception, where there are exceptions to section nature, valuing how we have what they call peaceful means to resolutions, like with sanctioning bodies, like with war which is the only that's why they have either that or crazy. You need that because they're either nuclear weapons, bombs, missiles, and armies with all kinds of crazy things, all kinds of ways they could bring. They start to put in male crimes. They lock into the identity further and further, identities of agencies that defend their titles. Look around. They never just defended each area against this organized crime method. Our organized crime, but countering bodies are in collusion originally and still. That's not to say they're not great people and they don't sacrifice, because the other hundreds of nations at once are fake identities. This is fluent through our nations. It built war. It built things to shock and awe and make shock and awe victims that are shocked and awed react, making other people shocked and awe. Then they can't defend their roles with that and afford the words needed to defend what made their shock and awe originally. And so the edifice of quality of fact treatment nature in relationship to the identity of value progression's identity in relationship to itself, in the value of that which causes evolutions, fruits, and gifts, it means per science. Now this is again, this is a native identity. It is native pure, will only stay. We are only value as native, even if we're not Native American. That's why and how real Native Americans are more and more and more value. When it comes to fact treatment nature, opinions, right or wrong, hyper negative or positive. But they're forced to entertain foundations of modern nations means to them, individually grouped in together. Every single person, every identity of industry, every identity of job, every human identity, individually grouped in together, already having been only heard, rolls with narratives of and as an identity of negative value nature progression. So just admitting this and doing it with a plan. We have this plan. We have pantheism untapped. Even, for example, it is evidence that and how and why yin yang has never been conceived as a religion. How do you do that? You do it in relationship to the physical delusions intersciences. You do it in relationship to how they can't they have the identity of logic, which is five bonded identities of sequence nature. How this was obfuscated by the experts of logic delusions wrought, criminally foreign influence. I'm not a doctor, I'm not even a doctor, I'm not a lawyer. We're going to delineate the delusions from and the physical criminally foreign influence premises, treatment, sequence, treatments of each science. This is the order of physics, distinctly and non-distinctly, while this is the order of metaphysics, distinctly and non-distinctly, while this is the order of the identity of volume itself as a nature of volume distinct from all others. Where and how is an identity of forever nature per science that is self-generating. It is an invisible but discernible increasing identity of relationship between a subject, between a value and a value nature. See how a verb can be a subject. If I say run, that's a one-word sentence. Think, that's a contemplate, that's a one-word sentence. Now, but it's as a verb, but it's a value and a value nature, and its nature is not its nature is not just independent. So we'll examine this. Its nature is three bonded identities of sequence nature as identity, identity as nature of volume. So they have volume science with physical delusions offensive as volume theory. I mean volume theory. They have volume theory with scientific consensus and scientific process. For example, those scientific phrases, they have them valued whereas and how we're in this fact treatment nature racketeering, identity racketeering, sequence racketeering trap, all victim roles, reaching screens and tools. This is fluent through our nations, leading up to and in the Trade Center, leading all identity of the grounds. They have recorded how they use the identities of each location in relationship to what no one understood. The only way they understand it is through what they need to hide lie progressions. They need to hide influences to this by the uses of the identities of the branches with this. See, witch trials, especially if they made it up, even if they made it up, what is actually recorded involved with was the database racketeering method, the identity thefts, frauds, the sequence racketeering. You know, the not just no free speech, not just no free speech while being tortured, not just no free speech while being extorted, not just no free speech while being enslaved, not just no free speech while being enslaved, and it worse with colors. They're forcing the same people, intercultural, internation scientists, policing since before our founding parents were born. They were already involved with this crazy method of laws against what everyone could say, using the value/value progression each age of human correlation nature is. Each age of sequence nature. So logic has a bonded identity of value progression that is all offensively intersciences, worse than obfuscating in conjunction with what maintained and still maintains already branches of government victims but had to hide lie progressions individually grouped and together. This uses each person's family members, regardless of what level of position you are with each branch. Then, in other words, then they're just gonna protect themselves as knaves, as like people that they engineered it this way by engineering everyone. Modern nations A through Z blamed others, and blamed selves for nature, for what nature was demonstrating, which is negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures in demonstration of how we are no longer using its identity of evolution. Positive identity of value progression is positive identity of relationship to itself. They even took scientific values like heaven, like hell, like the Trinity. These are scientific values, algebraic values. Allah's name with English. English was revealed as a grouped language value, where and how we're not supposed to agree about the name of it, but of the identity of value progression. But we are simultaneously supposed to agree at the same time. See, truths have an identity of relativity. And see, we have sequence racketeering. We have uses of all identity of the ground locations. Simultaneously, further and further collusion, each branch of government individually grouped in together. And that's every individual of each branch individually. Each individual of that branch individually grouped and together. Each difference of that branch, male, female, that was and is already employed. Database racketeering needs to hide those lie progressions, needs to pretend other as breaching screens, as breaching tools, as sequence racketeering natures. As people that want to fight about it dishonestly, as styles that need to hide their sequence shifts, need to hide all that was tied to that. Simultaneously, where we have these fact-cheating nature are disputes with other nations, here and there, hundreds of nations at once, the only capable of context, the only individuals allowed manifest to deal with peaceful means to counter what we never had means to counter. So they just use war. They use locking identities further and further, roles with identities here and there, identities, all jobs, all titles, all identities, laws, criminal and serious nature, as sequence shifting nature, not by accident, more and more valuing each age of correlation nature, each individual of it, each group of it, each difference of it, and altogether employed, breaching screens, breaching tools, breaching weapons, worse, breaching screens as the only nature of patriotism let voice that which is inclusion with that which forced words on our founding parents, like James Madison, our founding father. His plan. They had to hide his roles with the Constitution. They had to hide his roles with Marbury versus Madison, the most important law, because real justice must satisfy all appearances of real justice. And now, was it real justice? Were they honest passions and emotions of the branches of government when they had issues like slavery and issues all that unfold, that which would unfold and did and does unfold in relationship to that? So this is the Boroughs book, and this is what to do. Admitting identity to ground locations, forsaken in the trap where the fact cheating nature experts recorded their worst. They blamed on other things other than themselves. All that is focused on as life progression needs and natures in relationship to those locations through a breaching method, though. That also made and keeps everyone blaming other things other than themselves for all that standing, having done that too. Roles, everyone's opinions are roles recorded tactically. Evidence perception syndrome. I'm not a doctor. Affected. This word, in other words, in relationship, we have very simple means that by correlation, they're just extensive by what is actually recorded and how they hide it. See, most people don't see this. Most people don't never experienced a former director of the FBI testifying in a court where he's a defendant with a whole bunch of proven federal criminals involved with racketeering, also recorded as ones involved with World Trade Center attack context leading up to it, racketeering, acts, roles, and with the investigators of it since. So, for example, please help me, New York, too, and I'm going to help not just New York. The only way this will work is if we get each nation to be able to not just trust, but to start simultaneously stacking pantheism games, because it only feels like a game evolution's course and way, and we're going to do this the same way. So we have a pathology of infrastructure, thank God, at least. Not just at least, because this is we have something common to counter every modern nation at once, and no one ever, how that it's not just fun to counter where you have no resistance. The only resistance is that only in the way of evolution's fruits and gifts, a means to afford what no industry or person individually grouped together could afford. And if they tried to and could, something bad would happen, not by accident. We have to do this simultaneously. We have to admit the tactically denatured identity of the relationship to the ground. Evolution science does not work without the identity of the ground. You're going to make an invention. You have all the stuff going into fresh water. You know what a treasure of fresh water is. The Native Americans, not only were they prevented free speech, sustained, forced to be speech anyway. Just like our founders, our founding parents. They already divided nations A through Z. Then, before our founding parents were born, they hadn't defeated the Native Americans, but what they did effectively, with no one realizing, they made Native Americans A through Z blame other things, others themselves, for the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, which were actually caused by how everyone was in the system, tactical ulterior from the native value progression. It's a tactical ulterior from that system, which is a system that appreciates and is led by its identity of relationship to itself in the value/value progressions in demonstration of that, which is in relationship to these five identities. The value of these five identities of identities, identity, the trinities. This identity of value progression is identity of relationship to itself and the value of it. It's one identity of relationship to three semi-natures of its own identity of value. Increasingly, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. It is a simultaneous nature. It is not just right to left and left to right. It is simultaneous nature also with a third semi-nature coming in too, and as our value. We are quality diffusion, each individual grouped in together. Anything that can be made up, positive or negative, has two identities of value progression on both sides of it. And or it has what is coming to and from on both sides of it. That from being from what is as the identity of value progression. And what also on it has what it is with and for itself as each identity of value progression at once. One identity of forever nature is making more of its identity of volume through what is temporary/lasting space nature, through what is Earth's distinct and non-distinct relationship to the rest of space nature. So our physical trinity is inside a complete trinity, which has our piece of this complete nature of relationship to itself, simultaneously manifests as more and more two identities of possession, two bonded trinities, distinctly identities of sequence nature on both sides of us. That's why Jesus Christ has the A and the W on both sides of his head and the halo lit behind him. Yale's website has a picture of that. And that helped preserve English, which was revealed by ancients most probably. We're going to break this up: ancient, semi-ancient, and modern. So Jesus Christ and modern religions came around after English had already been revealed. They came around after internation sciences had already been tactically, criminally re-engineered. Tactically, criminally re-engineered, not just relations, when no one was watching, no one was realizing. They did that to make each locations, areas, and state self-defend and self-value, modification of the long words of our species, modification of its identities, native identities, identity of value progression, relationship to itself. That edifice, which is zenith, which is the perfect world, which works from the perfect world, already revealed. The perfect system already revealed. See, once it loses that, it demonstrates. All we have to do is realize, admit tactically denature relationship to the ground, and what we have to conceive and defend as fact treatment nature relationships to zoning laws, everything with the ground. And that between that is value too, is value/value progression too. That's how it works. Same way our selves are manifest in relationship to this demonstration. This identity that is inseparable from all questions. Excuse me. This identity that all other identities of value progression are together, individually grouped and together simultaneously. Train. Play legions, game, woke, native, pure. So this is what we do. Each location, area, and state, like New York's boroughs, we make a boroughs book, which I'll do it. I'll show you how we do it, but it's also a method, and then with the revenue goes for in other words, we're also going to put like a Republic organization coalition, or like it doesn't matter what the name. We'll figure out the best name, but we also put mean stack. Play a game called for example. Now mean stack. In other words, and we put these up. We think like where they are big people stacking, huge tenement buildings in New York City and throughout the world. That has a relationship to what it is effectively used to keep anyone from mentioning and from going into detail, finite proper detail, honest sequence treatments, and honest sensibility treatments, honest positive treatments in relationship to how each identity of location, each identity of the ground location originally instills tactically, criminally foreign influenced. And for uses of that, for that method that was native, not just noting it so everyone will get mad or something. I'm noting for science reasons. Exactly the actually recorded method Native Americans A through Z made them blame other things other than selves, made them defend that for time and positions, all kinds of reasons. Same thing they did already to Native nations A through Z. And now messengers had already come and warned us about this, already come and taken counter positions to what is the phenomenon of modern nations, identities of suits and tie nations, identities of militaries, identities of all that they call peaceful associated with that, including especially psychology, delusions rot, criminally foreign influenced, roles with methods and natures of torture and of identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering, sequence racketeering. So, for example, 3 times people from Hartford Hospital recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they were involved with racketeering with a Dillon family, a Sean Dillon, Kevin Dillon, and Anna Dillon, and Anne E. Dillon, and their roles with forging names, switching names, misspelling names, their roles with wire crimes and mail crimes and online crimes with New Britain Superior Court and with Hartford courts and with other courts and their sheriffs leading up to and in the World Trade Center attack context from Connecticut, intercities, worse than interstates maintained, roles with a racketeering method that is a whole bunch of racketeering methods bonded and made self-valued, a whole bunch of wrongdoers, criminal and seditious natures, a whole bunch of wrongdoing, self-valued, a whole bunch of criminal value roles with needs, interests, originally still right there to blame other things, make other things state apparent, self-value blamed for the real cause of negative value nature progressions, acts and natures, acts like predicate acts. So we have whole male crime methods, wire crime methods, that uses all the identity of the ground locations. Our wire companies, all the people that work for them, their family members, they're going to go to work each day, time, location. In a perfect world, the identities of titles and of jobs, the identities of law would be honest in relationship to correlation nature, simultaneously inherent, active, and progressive means. It was sequence true. And there are two other identities of sequence with that, which is that's why there is the order, there is the value of an order to the finite. That's why there is the value of an order to what is active. Simultaneously, why there is a value to the order of what is progressive. See, what is progressive value and what they call practical or liberated or free, people stacking on a mass scale. All exceptions were engineered specifically, simultaneously. So when we try to be fact treatment nature, to admit what is that which is very simple to admit and to discern, tactically forsaken, homeland roles with opinion nature's fake. Oh, well, sue us then. Those courts are already recorded, involved, individually grouped and together. Crime methods, crime natures, kept that way, kept criminally foreign influence, a whole bunch of other nations. With the transition from ACA to RICO, the Organized Crime Control Act, into transition from that into racketeering influenced and corrupt organization act. There were people involved then with uses of the identity of the FBI, criminally foreign influenced, with the identities of other agencies and of other branches of governments, criminally foreign influenced. See, but that's also in relationship to sanctions treatments. War treatments where we could try to find a peaceful way to counter what is you can't leave it, and well, look at being hurt more and more, aware and how this is fluent through, not just fluent through our nations, it's fluent through our locations, areas, and states. It's a nervous system of the devil, would have kept each age of correlation nature forsaken to be two and as. Roles with identity of negative value nature progression, used remote, self-value, forced. Because how is also from off all locations, from off campuses, already having been maintained on off all locations though. So they already have to hide uses of identities of each job, location, sequence treatment, time treatment, through this method of torture that is simultaneously overt, but it is simultaneously subtle. For example, I've been asking for a long time for a response. The courts are recorded consciously knowing that they have used and do use their locations to pretend fake things into databases. Their roles with human trafficking acts, illusions that are in conjunction also with uses of their kids. Through time, originally instilled, the kids intermilitary. Racketeering methods that are bonded, sequence racketeering, very simple things. Fake conversations with people, fake passions and emotions affected through interbranch kids with a Joshua Julian. Recorded also with the transition from ACA, Organized Crime Control Act, into RICO. There were people involved with forensics locations, involved with also uses of the identities of job sites, where and has and how the identities of agencies are kept to defenses of themselves, needed per contrast with hundreds of nations at once in time and positions, and all that only capable of being gathered peaceful with these fake sides, each one. How many people live in a nation? You see. So we need mandated law followed. The judicial branch and the executive branch grouped also. We have to, they're individually grouped and together. Every individual, every group difference of themselves. And all together they are recorded effectively how having been maintained and how being maintained criminally foreign influence and delusions raw, breaching screens and tools. And worse than weapons. It's not personal at all. I don't even know their names. They need to pretend they're perceiving things personal. So a whole bunch of people from CCSU recorded, confessed, and demonstrated their roles with courts, with racketeering tied to they already used cases, depositions. They used their means to pretend to perceive things while in conjunction with themselves faking recorded things, breaking rules, and pretend, oh, it's just I'm doing that. They're as criminally foreign legalized and as sickly exploited. World Trade Center racketeering, Washington D.C. racketeering, interbranch with identity thefts, frauds, racketeering, sequence shifts. They think it's nothing. Oh, it's put someone in jail or something, 6 months, whatever, innocent people. Those jails recorded and confessed and demonstrated involved with them with criminal uses of my area from by people associated with overt criminal enterprises, recorded racketeering acts with the wire crimes with the various natures of courts and people interbranch from my town, intercities, leading up to intercampuses, racketeering acts actually recorded, opinions actually recorded, natures actually recorded, how they use the identities of the stewards of campuses, everyone speaking through other people, where the identities of our agencies were originally instilled, breached entities. Same thing there. So there is not one side that doesn't have to pretend their integrity in relationship to their fact-cheating nature where it counts, where it is invisible but still discernible. History is a bonded body of value. That is a whole bunch of bonded bodies of value, as cells are. And that it is only a story. It is not science unless you use this method of correlation, which prayer was also a scientific value for, not for faith at all. As a method of contemplating the relationship that these 5 identities of sequence nature have to and as itself. The identity of value progression that has an identity of relationship to itself. That is further positive or negative. And the value of that is further increasingly positive or negative. Those 2 other identities of sequence nature, they simultaneously won't and can't juxtapose with us in this active phase as life, as forever nature. Only the extent of it is debatable. But see, offensively, not by accident, people debate such with lies and with physical delusions that only can get away with it because of how tactically, effectively we have been maintained self-value uses of scientific precedents, scientific consensus, uses of scientific process, uses of those words by the sciences themselves, identity of the ground, abridged identities of the sciences, abridged from the identity they share simultaneously, in conjunction with our fact-cheating nature, experts in everyone's opinions regarding the nature of the law, regarding the surface values of the Constitution, regarding what we have time for and what we don't. They are the maintenance of their identities in relationship to the identities of other nations that are fake sides of and as the same identity of negative value, nature, progression, self-value, already having been and being used remotely. Line progressions to each location. They self-value what this breaching method kept and keeps each location, involved also with overt criminal enterprises and with private ones originally and still. Victim predators themselves, even the identities of industries. So everyone has nothing other to even be able to fathom, not by accident. Slavery is not hard to explain. It's only extensive. It's very simple. Anyone who claims other, that they are recorded with effectively having been used as fake sides of humanity's trinity, individual grouped together with this individual, the invisible but still discernible identity, value progression, and science proper. No one's letting it free speech. We have people from Jamaica also involved with all kinds of medicine racketeering and psychology racketeering with a Leahy family, also involved with other people at Hartford Hospital, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with prosecutors and with judges, including female judges, with physical delusions, criminal foreign influence, racketeering acts, and uses of their databases, of their roles with wire crimes and mail crimes, where they lie about what is actually recorded over the mail. Their roles with racketeering uses of the New Britain Superior Facebook page, with a principal sex offenders campus, with the Wethersfield police chief's daughter and extended family members, like Reno Mazzucato. There and his brothers and sisters, his family involved with also intercities with bakeries. People associated with the John Mayano recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also involved with racketeering acts associated with New Britain Superior Court. His roles with policing of schools, with their roles with human trafficking, per their uses of him and of prosecutors when they were kids, for database racketeering, sequence racketeering recorded. Drug crime roles with kids, sexual crime roles with kids. And then they sustain that. They sustain all people roles with insidious positive treatments, aggressive treatments, and fake care at the same time, tied to the misprision and life progression identity of the branches of government individually grouped and together. The whole time, all a private and overt criminal enterprises recorded in collusion through time, like for example, Joshua Julian, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with New Britain Superior Court's Facebook page, and with him, with sexual and with verbal racketeering, with overt criminal enterprises, and people associated with such with him, also with the stewards of the Witness Protection Program, also recorded and confessed and demonstrated him roles with them, with the racketeering with body dumping spot of Billy Grasso, and with people with the same overt criminal enterprises were involved with the racketeering acts with them, including as police forms and military, on off locations of Connecticut media, on off locations of national, international media like CNN. And that they influence CNN to pretend such as personal, per uses of identity, the ground locations. If you say something about the uses of your campuses, like Central Connecticut State University, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with when I went to grammar school, there were people I never had conversations with They use a crime method where they keep adults from speaking about positive or negative properly because of how they have been used as criminal and ceaseless nature treatments of positive, as fact treatment nature, as sequence treatment nature, as identity treatment natures. So now they can't follow mandated law. They have places associated with New Britain Superior Court and other courts, like for example in East Hartford, there is a CRT community renewal team and things like that that are also interbranch from Wethersfield, on and off Department of Transportation, on and off the Department of Motor Vehicles, involved with state police families, retired and standing, involved with FBI, retired and standing, involved with CIA, retired and standing, involved with racketeering acts with databases in my town, on and off campuses, also intercities, interbranch, mail crimes, wire crimes. See, the courts have been lying about what is actually recorded with the police forms, individually grouped and together. Each individual of each branch of government is involved with distinct racketeering methods and actually recorded natures. That the judicial branch, for example, preventing mandated law, the speaking anyway, pretending to be against such at the same time. That's because the vast numbers of people involved with each branch and their family members, all involved with this, that divided Native Americans, not just for words. This is all locations. Everyone rolls through other motivations, natures, needs, interests. Then defense of that, the engineering of that is in conjunction with the pathology of infrastructure structure recorded that was forced with the fact treatment nature torture and slavery of our founders. People dishonestly pretend they don't understand that because they through contrast, but through offensive needs to pretend to be about success, pretend to be like that. Well, I'm public speaker. I speak about success. I'm marketing. These are victim predators of science's abridged identity ground relationships to what is actually recorded. It's all right. Someone has physical delusions, criminal foreign influence, premises treatment, sequence treatments, justifications of the perfect world forsaken. It's edifice of understanding. Its relationship to evolution, its relationship of necessity to the words that are only capable of revealing reliefs to people of areas, state locations, areas, and states on mass scales, not by accident, worse than just forsaken every moment, worse than just invested, having blamed other things, others themselves for all that, bonded, juxtaposed upon each person, where it counts, how it counts. These times course, I'll drop the force, box sings. I tell you things alone. So we just put up this campus. We use the evidence, we use the physical delusions of each science, recorded, self-valued, how it was, how they are. Abridged identities of science will reveal. We'll do, you have to understand the recorded, how they keep database racketeering roles, how they keep use of the pathology. Each age of fact treatment nature is individually grouped together as an identity of volume. They have been lying about, forced to self-value the lies of the experts before them about it. They have all that is manifest in relationship to studies. Just having the studies is recorded involved with the racketeering uses. See, we have courts and we have police forms and we have military. We have a Justin Klavinskis with a dead end road on the which is on the western side of Web School, which is distinct from Web House, which is which is the same, but they changed the name to the Webb Stevens House. There was a reason they were supposed to leave it Webb House. So we lost on significant fronts in the American Revolution. That's why we must train also be trial tribe. So, but by claiming one claiming identities of organization to the identities of forsaken locations, in other words, we're doing something simultaneously about what. So we're going to force no one to have means to use time, to evaluate time always too fast, too slow. No one has time to care about how, where, and how. Scientific process is not allowed free speech. If anyone tries to speak honestly about what really is the problem to areas and states, the economically invested roles with the mass forsaken, make opinions dishonestly, make opinions already having been used remote. So they all value collusion. For example, advertisement companies are involved with timed ad placements in conjunction with networks, news, and theater representatives invested to time racketeering acts roles with the wire crimes, mail crimes, and database racketeering roles, uses of identity, the ground locations, not just their own locations, not just the buildings on and off the news stations. These are people involved with this method that keeps those database racketeering acts and sequence shifts and through the stewards and their family members of all the database stewards. Keeps them needing to hide life progressions, needed to hide from and hurt each age of correlation nature, each age of sequence nature. It's each person's relationship to how they're doing this. Keeping each age of fact treatment nature self-valued, sensitivity for the breaching method, preventing free speech, quality, integrity of finite, preventing the people's opinions who are pretending we're just having opinions from being demonstrated. So my new and past neighbors, I don't know my new neighbors' names. It's nothing personal. Whereas how it is personal, because I understand that and how they were used for the courts and the prosecutors and the state police and foreign and domestic police and overt criminal enterprises and doctors, all recorded and involved with racketeering acts and the same untimely deaths on off Trinity College with my new and past neighbor's house and their extended family members too, and the house next to them with extended family members further involved with the principal sex offenders campus then and now, and with their roles with a Bob Chase, with falsified police reports, and with roles with untimely deaths and with crimes with doctors also from Middletown and with connections to them and to Central Connecticut State University and to other colleges involved with criminal justice, training the leaderships of prisons. Their family members also involved with this. Is a location, all locations, areas, and states are kept roles with what keeps the branches of government, which keeps the military, intermilitary roles with which is also intercampuses of each age and nature. The line progressions were engineered originally and still kept needed onto each position of the human factor in nature's correlation, each age of it. No, so they keep making overall allegations. Courts, we have courts with uses of words like allegations, criminally. They pretend I make allegations against people because they need to pretend I had conversations with people I never had. So they also have 3 times they recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. They involved with forcing me to have mental evaluation. With a if you tell them you don't want to have you don't want to speak with them, they just pretend you had a conversation with them anyway. They forge names, people that didn't even sit in front of you, didn't even walk in front of you. Like the older Brendan Leahy. The younger one, I never had a conversation with him either. He put a pad in front of me, made no words. I made no words. He wrote other. Now he's involved with my new and past neighbors with crimes with child sex offenders on the registry. That was since before they got caught. Now these are the people that they go through. These are the people that deal with people like sex offenders, like prisoners, overt criminal enterprises. These are people involved with the witness protection programs ties to my area too. And the stewards of it also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved. With racketeering with the Kerr family, I don't know either. The only contacts I know them in were them seeking me out, and through their friends. Because any exception was through their friends, and me countering me going with them recorded, confessed, and demonstrated judges and police forms, foreign and domestic overt criminal enterprises, Pakistani, Italian, associated with the DeMauro family, a Kerr family. I don't know all their names. Associated with Town Line Mobile, associated with town businesses on Town Line, all along Town Line Road, and so involved with racketeering, uses of Trinity College and of CCSU, of UConn, uses of the policing of the stores, uses of the managers, roles with foreign and domestic police forms, integrities in relationship to identities of value treatments. Again, originally and still, without left out all their roles with this breaching method. That is a whole bunch of methods bonded, a whole bunch of natures of self-value racketeering that they have, like they have this Joshua Julian, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with also with racketeering acts, roles with people in a deposition, that were involved with the case of former director of the FBI, in his defendant capacities. A part of the case /S that was ongoing at the time of my father's death. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated this Leahy family, people from Hartford Hospital, attached me to fake conversations that weren't at all, couldn't have misunderstood me with this Leahy family. First time they forced me there for 3 days. They also have a guy, I don't know, they have men and women associated with the community center, further involved with prosecutors and judges with crimes with drugs on off the campuses, untimely deaths, and uses of them for other natures of racketeering, uses of the investigators of crimes against each age of various natures, including used to further those natures of abuses of kids. We have women judges and prosecutors, women state's attorney, even women's victims advocates involved with racketeering with child sex offenders. They're pretending passions and emotions with people that have been using the databases of New Britain Superior Court for human trafficking and for a whole bunch of natures of racketeering since I was a kid. People not by accident recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with a pattern of racketeering acts, roles with federal criminals that are also recorded involved with further crimes, roles associated with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and themselves leading up to and in the Trade Center attack context, leading up to and in the 2006 district court case. Note where His Honor, a judge named Winters or Nations, Judge Nations or Judge Winters, Justice Winters, His picture was on the wall in a 2006 case. And Judge Hall is a female justice, was the judge. Former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, was a defendant. Robert Cheverry was his lawyer. There were federal criminals on their side, who were in the audience. And his co-defendants had a daughter in my grade. Another one lived on Dearborn, associated with Eric Jensen, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved with racketeering with databases and with mail crimes, wire crimes, with the Oliveri family, and others recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering uses of Trinity College and of UPS, and as roles with people on and off Trinity College, with houses on Zion Street. Also, as people further involved with racketeering acts on and off CCSU that were affected by the judges and by the police from my town into Branch and by their family members' roles with database racketeering uses of that on and off Central Connecticut State University. Uses of that to cover their lipoaggressions, where they kept Connecticut criminally foreign influence needing to hide lipoaggressions from whoever becomes president, needing to keep that office as a breaching screen, as pretended legitimate American identity nature, American sequence nature, when it is not. So this Joshua Julian's involved also with families recorded with and confessed and demonstrated involved with forensics locations and with body dumping spots, legal and criminal. Like, for example, involved with the racketeering with those killers and with the counters to them recorded in collusion with them. For example, the serial killer from the Britain recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering with people from Sandy Hook, Newtown, also associated with a Soto family and with an O'Brien family, and with people that confessed and recorded and demonstrated a Kerr family and others. Now, I never had a conversation. I never met a Kerr in grammar school. Their roles are with this grammar school. For some reason, when they were in middle school, they confessed, recorded, demonstrated they were involved with racketeering. That was with a former Mayor Gold and with an O'Brien family and people associated with them that are now further then and now as a whole bunch of family members and families that were invested to identity thefts, falsified police report rolls, since they were kids, and now they're adult prosecutors. They're people that attach me to fake locations, fake words, fake recorded things into databases. When they were kids, they were roles with that. On and off campuses connected. They do that in sustained ways. These are many people with East Hartford, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also with racketeering on and off Central Connecticut State University with the same house on my street. Involved further with this Phil Cololo, also with two Mendez police, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved racketeering acts roles on and off Weathersfield Police Department. For example, I never had a conversation in my life with Eric Mendez. He's one of the ones who attached me to fake words with him, putting police equipment and then putting me in quote, put the name of police equipment. He's involved with crimes with those wire crimes with a principal sex offender when they were forcing it that way. He's also with his brother involved with racketeering with a whole bunch of people on and off New Britain Superior Court since I was a kid. With identity thefts, falsified police reports, fake recorded things into databases, racketeering uses of databases, racketeering acts, roles, uses of wire crime, mail crimes. He's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering with people associated with a food bag and with places next to that. Where Weathersfield Police Department is now where it used to be, which is right in the town offices library. whole bunch of foreign and domestic families. Involve racketeering, everyone speaking through other people in relationship to their databases where they have the sequence nature of everyone. Involve identity thefts, fraud, secret, all kinds of falsified police reports. Uses of interbranch family members to hide their already having been used remote identities. Bosses. So what we need to have countered are various natures of courts. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involve racketeering uses of my location. Also, as people involved with the other five, I lived 5 locations, including this one I'm at now in my life. They all have racketeering acts roles and ties to the people to the house/s on my street, involved and tied to them, involved further with what World Trade Center racketeering acts from Connecticut, as people further involved with intercampuses racketeering acts from Connecticut, intercities tied. Each age and nature of campuses recorded in collusion. Heather Hansen and her brothers and her parents are recorded also with her with neighbors tied to her, involved with in them, and to her boyfriends, a whole bunch of men and women associated from my town, and also with the branches of government and military, identity thefts, fraud, sequence shifts. Their roles also with crimes with judges, with real estate companies, and with sequence racketeering, with Heather Hansen, also used to prevent me from reporting things each year since before the World Trade Center attack. And when I tried to do it, they stacked racketeering acts against me. They attached me to fake conversations with people, fake locations. Now, these are people involved with Hartford courts also with crimes with depositions and with criminal uses of their identity ground locations and of kids on off campuses and of their roles with untimely deaths, people falling from buildings, their roles with the investigators of child sex offenders, and roles as the furtherance of that as women too, because these are juxtaposed uses of fake justice and fake care, collusion, made times, right where and how already the branches of government from their spots need to keep those campuses criminally foreign influence more and more from off them. Now they already have prosecutors with their kids involved further, like a Brian Silver was recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. Um, uh, Other prosecutor named Salisbury recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved crimes with all kinds of human trafficking racketeering acts. Detective Samuda pretended he arrested me twice. He never arrested me once. He's involved he switched names with an officer, Magnanos from East Hartford, who also has a daughter of his family members associated with Central Connecticut State University. Agencies with East Hartford and with Glastonbury involved with racketeering, with roles with the interbranch from my town that were are then and now further World Trade Center racketeering acts roles also with the investigators of that, also with their uses of the VA across the country, their uses of each value treatment, recorded, confessed, demonstrated criminally foreign influenced, delusions raw. Now they have fake news offensively because they need to make people use evidences other than what we have that is true always that they won't respond to. So then they're going to make a mistake and say, like, for example, they had a guy from the military said they put them all up in the desert and they blew up a bomb and tested on their reaction to it. And one guy, he thought he was wearing a suit, but his skin was melted. And like, who would claim that science? See, we have each of the sciences that are delusions raw, criminally foreign influence. This is the order to physics, where and how it is valued. This is the order. I never even took physics. I'll delineate their delusions from their criminal force, influence, fact treatment nature, sequence treatment nature, as you will. Boxing. The Boroughs book, it teaches things. So this is where we have all New York needing to have means together, have this organism plan together, as each city of each modern nation needs to. So we have the Boroughs book to help with this. We have Republic Organization Coalition to give order to be to forsaken people with where we have people stacking. They don't know how to describe. They're not aware of all the life progressions bonded, focused on them, of the real causes of it. So we're on how they're aware of such. Everyone already blamed other things, others themselves, for the causes of that, for the uses of that, too. So we have all we need recorded. For instance, reliefs. For instance, we have to demonstrate how the judicial branch and how the executive branch has been making things up through administrations. Connecticut interbranch, all along routes, they used the identity of Barack Obama, who is a great man, greater than me in many ways. But this way, he many pray. Boxings. I'm an expert on the nature of English grammar, which is the nature of identities, identity of value progression, and of the value of that, and of the value of that per identity of sequence nature further, that is simultaneously only juxtaposes and can and will only juxtapose with our trinity manifest one way. For example, our trinity being the value to the order of the finite, the value to the order of what is active, and the value to the order of what is our progressive nature or volume simultaneously. This is where and how we are quality of diffusion. When we are trying to be value to those three identities simultaneously, it is knowing we are inside values nature. It is knowing values nature as our value, as this bonded trinity. Its trinity is before and bonded is bigger than us, while it is smaller than us. We are inside this. So from our perspective, there are two other identities of sequence nature, which is one identity of volumes, identity of relationship to itself, self-generating, will only increase its value, of positive or negative identity of relationship to itself. So our identities have memory, have semi/complete memory that is positive or negative, and that becomes more and more positive or negative, but not in relationship to friendship's positive. This is in relationship to its identity of value progression. This is relationship to science. See, we have the sense and sensibilities, treatments of motions, where we have a self-value, the identity racketeering originally forced and still. Breaching screen roles, breaching screen tool roles, all locations, areas, and states since they were colonies. They couldn't help but be locations, areas, and states as this identity of value progression system that the ancients revealed English and demonstration of, that the ancients revealed the Republic and its concentrated campuses values and demonstration of, how to reveal evolution's fruits and gifts and means and way. /S. Hear many pray. I tell best boxings. I tell all things. So then we set up Republic Organization Coalition. Now the Boroughs book is going to have all New York aware of self and self admitting the admission of identity of the ground locations tactically forsaken, simultaneously juxtaposed with new means, which is not just a Republic Organization Coalition as a business, but as a game. It only feels like game because when you're going by evolution's fruit, what causes evolution's fruits and gifts and means. But evolution uses the identity of the ground. I'll gather round. All identity of the ground locations are recorded having been effectively employed, breaching method, utilized, lipogressions in relations from that, shipped from and as that, standing lipogression cover up nature's needs and styles of life, where and how we are fact treatment nature as this identity of volume, where nature is identity, and its identity of relationship to itself and the value of that per its identity, that one that is the scientific value, inseparable from all identities of value progression individually grouped together as inseparable from its identity of relationship to itself and the value of that as the simultaneous nature. Lech. See, Allah, Al stands for the. And this is about how El stands for longing. No L come as the 12th letter of the English alphabet, right before M, which is right in the middle. And note how Omega is 2 letters over O. Mother, M stands for mother. N stands for neutrality. Note how neutrality is between mother and Omega. See, this sequence, one identity of sequence nature is increasingly valued right to left, while it is valued left to right. And will only stay that way. And it is while there is another identity of sequence nature there. And it is while that trinity is bonded as a positive or negative relationship to itself. So the other two identities of sequence nature, semi-natures of the one bonded one, is the one identity bonded identity of relationship to itself. Is the value of that. Is the value of that further again. One thing is coming to, from, as, with, and for itself, everywhere it is. So I don't know if anyone. This will heal New York. Will heal, but we have to do this simultaneously for it to work. We have to give the other nations the same method of admitting ourselves as trial tribes that admit but not blaming on the wrong things, others themselves, that admit that we're tactically forsaken identity of relationships to the ground, positions, and means to counter that. All that causes nature to demonstrate with and through negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, like criminal and seditious natures, of positive treatments, no, of sense and sensibilities, of the integrity of its sensibilities treatments, no. So what is dishonest as politics originally and still? It's pretending it has value to kids by pretending by using faked evidences, by calling names to the presidents, by fake care for the presidents, calling names to who doesn't entertain that. So we have the most sacred values, like more and more increasing value, invisible but still discernible, black. When everyone opens their mouth, they demonstrate they have physical delusions in relationship to American history and in relation to American present right now, active and progressively to come. They demonstrate they have physical delusions, criminally foreign influence, sequence nature. They're shocking off victims, victim predators with opinions. And they're preventing mandated law. And when someone demonstrates that, that's evidence. The Britain Superior Court, Hartford Court, they're recorded involved with racketeering with people associated with the same nature of racketeering with overt criminal enterprises that Joshua Julian has recorded and confessed and demonstrated, involved with houses in my area, with the FBI, and with my town's police chief, and with prosecutors with their kids, and with judges, and with their kids and family members. So everyone makes opinions speaking through other people. These are people that have also been involved with racketeering acts since before the Trade Center attack, as ones also since I was a kid, but also as ones with racketeering acts with the investigators of the Trade Center attack. Now, these are also people involved. It's like this Leahy family. They also have how they have stacking dozens and dozens of names that people have ever had conversations, roles with them, attaching me to fake words, fake behavior, even fake yelling. They even had one person do it, pretending to be me, I guess. Because then they pretend they make mistakes that they couldn't have made, or they made consciously. Where they could force someone to a location and then just write fake things. They say, "Oh, we don't do that. Sue us." Give me the names then. Get them from the names, forging and switching. Various natures of courts are involved with racketeering with the Leahy family, and with a Grisey family, and with people all along roads and routes and involved with corners. These are also people recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved racketeering with other nations, racketeering with their uses of identities shared on and off job sites, like UPS, like construction sites, like fire departments, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved racketeering with a Kerr family, with a Chris Walters family, with Weathersfield town offices, whole bunch of people associated with the Britain Superior Court involved racketeering uses of and roles with uses of Central Connecticut State University for crimes with child campuses through time. Whereas people involved with it also from UConn and Trinity College, especially because of how they have so many natures of medical racketeering with the juxtaposed uses of that. Recorded, they juxtapose people to other natures of racketeering bonded against strangers from them town. And they pretend to be strangers of the only context they know people in were contacts where the interbranch were facilitating that, not alone, with their roles with overt criminal enterprises, kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts, the same finite, active, progressive, wire crime, mail crime rules acts with them, actually recorded, online racketeering with them. We have the Facebook stewards of Trinity College and of New Britain Superior Court and of the principal sex offenders campus. Further then and now, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated roles with racketeering worse than intercities coordinated and worse than interstates coordinated, leading up to in the Trade Center attack context and since. So respond for them. There are a whole bunch of people that recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. There's a Casper family. I also never had a conversation with any of them. He's also involved, that is also involved with them, with this Leahy family, and with doctors associated with him. Also faked conversations with me, roles with crimes with falsified police reports, uses of database racketeering, including fake medical records of people into databases, racketeering uses of lawyers, with them with evidence racketeering, various natures of courts already involved, using their courts for locations for racketeering acts, way worse than racketeering. Uses of their family members for roles with it through time. Whole bunch of people with the Della Fera family recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved well, but with sexual, medical, and drug crimes, mail crimes, wire crimes, with lawyers and with police forms and foreign and domestic military on and off the Samuel Dix house, on and off the campuses in Wethersfield. There's a Justin Klovinskis recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by people associated with him. He confirmed his roles with racketeering with houses in my area with foreign and military police families on and off religious spots involved with racketeering uses of Central Connecticut State University and of locations next to there. He's involved with racketeering with other military, foreign and domestic, and with his wife in the Britain and on and off a serial killer's body dumping spot there. That serial killer was involved with racketeering with them with the principal sex offenders campus. I recorded them with more then and now with the Britain Superior Court women judges roles with it. All kind of falsified police reports roles, crimes with police equipment with the detective Samuda, his crimes with sexual abuses of young girls of various ages, in conjunction with it as his role, the value of his falsified police reports, confessions from other tied to him, his having attached me to fake locations with him, fake words with him, fake natures of ties to him and others. I never had any relationship, was never arrested by this detective Samura. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with various other natures of racketeering with the Britain Superior Court, with their Facebook page, and with him when they were still forcing the principal sex offender, now told on with others then and now, intercities, associated with the detective Samura. Also, people involved with foreign and domestic families associated with the Wethersfield Library. Further involved with the detective, Dr. Graham, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with drug crimes, with untimely deaths roles, and with her roles with racketeering with various natures of courts judges, and with the extended family members with human trafficking acts, drug crime roles, and crimes with sex offenders and families, and with this Dr. Graham, and with people, male and female doctors, other tied to her, and people that prevent, they have counters to justice racketeering with the Justice Department and internally. And those processes as well were involved criminally foreign influence used remote already. So we have identities of people associated with criminal justice, with the identities of the law development that originally still was, those processes were maintained criminally foreign influenced to keep them involved, needing to hide the same sequence shifts, finite lies, active lies, progressive lies, with overt criminal enterprises and with private ones at the same time. All database relationships, further and further self-valuing what keeps real evil and real fake care bonded, like magnets, people with the means and needs to get away with hiding sequence shifts, finite lies, active lies, progressive lies. They don't even come up with naturally. And where that's true, they come up with naturally. Those truths are used for lies. So we have their actually recorded natures of everyone's opinions maintained, propagated, criminally foreign influence, delusions raw, live aggressions used from those spots, used remotely. National news, Connecticut news, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they're involved with the crime method of pretending they don't believe that the people they know interbranch would do what they would, so offensively, criminally, so they can prevent strangers from using logic that is not criminally foreign influence, delusions raw, and having been exploited. So they could keep using identities of patriotism that never were patriotism, like this, many associated with this Justin Klavinskas recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with intercities racketeering all along routes and roads. Also associated with the Samuel Dick's house. Also associated with his kids, or who he implied were his kids. Demonstrated involved with his wife and him, with racketeering with foreign and domestic families and medical racketeering. And as the intercampus is racketeering, also as the people on off religious spots, on off web school, people associated with drug crimes with the military police family involved with racketeering, like this Joseph Klavinskas. People associated with racketeering with a Kerr family, with various natures of judges and prosecutors retired and standing as the ones further involved with the principal sex offenders campus and with the intercities campuses and the ones in town further, with ties between the locations next to the campuses, like a Yagman house. The Yagman family recorded, confessed, demonstrated also involved with them, with that pattern in their roles with racketeering with judges and prosecutors and military and foreign and domestic with Town Line Road through time. Identity thefts, frauds, racketeering, crimes with falsified police reports. They're calling in fake things. They're setting things up so when things are called in, they can pretend to perceive things other, cover up their life progressions. They have wellness checks, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with crime methods where they forge names and switch names. So every time they do a wellness check, the agencies are effectively keeping the uses of each identity of department involved with other natures of racketeering acts that they then hid and hide in cases through further and further criminal readings of statutes recorded as the value legal precedence is originally still criminally foreign influence, delusions raw. So all we need is even one forsaken, like, people stacking place where they put all those people, where especially then you have shootings. These gangs, they have gangs. Of course they have gangs. We have our branches like gangs. We have our branches, criminally foreign influence sciences from off the campuses, on off the campuses, further with sequence racketeering, categorical lies through each age of fact-achieving nature, fake passions and emotions. They have Joshua Julian and recorded involved with a crime method with judges and with prosecutors and with forensics cliques that had crimes with the killer of Billy Grasso and with people that were pretending to be his enemy at the time that are involved with Central Connecticut State University. Also as racketeering with people on off the state judicial branch offices with an as a Faenza family and males and females associated with him with racketeering uses of Rhode Island, uses of Vermont, uses of on off Fox Connecticut News in the buildings next to them, people on off Two Road Highway where it runs into Hangdog Lane, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated their roles further with a Dillon family, with male and female medical racketeering, military racketeering, in conjunction with them with database racketeering on and off campuses. We have some sick doctors that get getting away with it because we have some sick judges and their family members crimes with child sex offenders of other natures. Other natures of racketeering then and now. Further, with the proven child sex offenders, they have more recorded racketeering uses of them. Further, as people on and off the Wethersfield Library. Further, as their uses of the FCC with readings of with wordings of legal treatments that you can't defend and us from what exploited them and that and us at the same time. They can't defend themselves. So respond for them. If they can't follow mandated law, get them New Britain Superior Court to one name and sequence. And then we'll get the rest of them too. Because New Britain Superior Court and Hartford courts, we need the Hartford courts too. But they're not following the laws because they already got recorded themselves lying in cases about because they had to hide what they were using the locations for, not legitimate training of people. Whatever they have, they had training of Justin Klavinskis, of his wife, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering, drug crimes, of formal drug crimes with doctors and with overt drug crimes on and off campuses, with locations off the campuses, right off of them. Their roles with identity thefts, frauds, sequence shifts, racketeering, also with people who confessed and recorded on Trinity College, with racketeering with the houses next to it, the businesses next to it through time, involved with them with identity thefts, frauds, sequence racketeering through time since I was a kid. Now I've been asking since the World Trade Center attack for response to the confessions, demonstrations of the courts of Hartford. They had racketeering acts rules leading up to winning the 2006 district court case with FBI and with federal criminals associated with them, with racketeering uses of the campuses I went to since I was a kid, as the ones with racketeering acts roles on and off CCSU recorded a whole bunch and then confessed and demonstrated after the fact. Then I have more. Now I have more to tell. They're preventing me free speech. Wethersfield police recorded, confessed, and demonstrated that their police chief has been forging names, switching names, falsifying police reports with the Leahy family, who's been pretending things with prosecutors and judges into databases with them. Fake conversations with people, whole categorically fake conversations with me about my father, about police equipment. I never had a conversation with anyone in my life about police equipment. People recording my father. He was spreading lies with overt criminal enterprises. There's a person in the deposition as one of the federal criminal code defendants and/or as Robert Luskin himself, former standing chairperson Racketeering Influence Club Organization Act. They're pretending that they didn't know things had been proven in cases where they had been pretending passions and emotions with overt criminal enterprises, with in collusion with them, with extortion methods, intercities connected. Now, these are also people involved with all kinds of shootings criminally, the investigators of it. Fox Connecticut News has retired and standing police chiefs involved with them, with two Mendez police, and with their racketeering when they every time they speak with stories. They have the family members of the people that work for these companies that have worked for them for a long time. They've had roles stacking illusions that are in conjunction with one's interbranch databases, intercampuses databases. Further and further, to and as roles with the evil, to and as locate all locations. Overt. It's not let spoken because of how it stays subtle with this. Now it is overt. I've been asking to have mandated law followed response because they use the method interbranch, attaching people and their family members to fake words, to fake locations. And they keep doing that as crimes with the area. You know, they get people to once they get people to raise their voice, before they ignore passions and emotions, those are ones they use where they can make things go before courts, where they can pretend to perceive things wrong. use it to prevent people from speaking, and pretend to make mistakes on purpose but not be realizing it, and perpetually prevent that from being demonstrated because they're not following mandated law. They already didn't do that, and they already had themselves used remotely. Connecticut interbranches recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved further with through time for crimes with forensics locations, involved crimes with child sex offenders, with male and female foreign and domestic medical families, in conjunction with the court's roles with this. In military, there were a whole bunch of people with Middletown associated with the school that Hamilton. You know that guy with there's a Wesleyan University in Middletown, Connecticut. And there's on the locate there was like a harbor park. I don't know, they changed the names of places. But on the water there were a whole bunch of people associated with the Phil Colillo who have racketeering acts roles with New Britain Superior Court, with Hartford courts, like a Delafair family, with crimes with drugs and with identity thefts and frauds and database racketeering with kids. Their roles spreading lies through people, their roles with a Spada family, they also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering on and off Wethersfield schools further then and now, with the sex offenders and with the people with the forensics locations involved with them, with recorded racketeering acts, with overt criminal enterprises that are recorded how having been kept, needing to hide the same sequence shifts, finite lies, active lies, progressive lies, and identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering acts, lies, and worse with them through lifetimes. So please respond for any of the courts and Connecticut who disbelieves this. Have them pick one name and sequence and spelling of it. And then I'll delineate their delusions from their criminally foreign influence, sick natures originally instilled for you. This is how you answer the questions about what fought for slavery and for what really motivated it. We have physical delusions. So even where the money might have been a real motivation, that's not the motivation. It was a motivation juxtaposed with a worse one, not by accident. No one understood how to explain, so they blamed other things other than themselves. So we are the identity of the Republic. We are the identity of the Campus Marcius. We are the identity that is value intercampuses, not them. Those identity of jobs and of titles will speak or fall. Build wall, vaccine. So hurry up so we can set up the identity of the ground, differential modules, the identity of relativity differential modules that go with the Republic's organization coalition. That brings means to each grouped identity of the ground location where the grouped value is forsaken and that denied. Demonstration of it by free speech prevented science and free speech at the same time. True. So we have the identity of the science is abridged as identity of the ground, tactically abridged. Identity of relationship to the surface values of the Constitution. The abridged Constitution. Our founders demonstrated their needs for us to demonstrate the Constitution abridged this way and for us to speak this way. Please, justices who are online, who are and who are with the television networks, Fox News. I know you guys. I know our humanity everywhere it is better than this, but you have to be able to admit In other words, it's recorded anyway. Each identity of each court is not each individual of it, each grouped and together. They are recorded criminally foreign influence and delusions raw. Fox Connecticut News is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering with international news. These are military families involved with the racketeering, with the Domain brothers, with the Mendez police brothers, on and off Fox Connecticut News, with a white family, with people associated with Central Connecticut State University, a whole bunch of them, police forms, people associated with acting, each of the departments. Thanks, Ponga and CR. Thanks, you guys. Love you too, you guys. This is how we're going to save America. We're going to save the world. We have to do this simultaneously with pantheism. It's about this identity of value progression, not about a whole bunch of gods, but about what the identity of value progression gods are about as an algebraic variable. So we can be great. To make America great again, we have to make this identity of the ground's identity of relationship to itself great again. That which reveals evolution's fruits and gifts and means as its identity of relationship to itself one way redeems. So that's where we came from, humanity. Evolution came from one identity's identity of relationship to its three semi-natures of volume, inherent, active, and progressive, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. So this is distinctly onto the inherent nature of volume it is. The one complete identity of volume it is. That creates a non-distinct, that creates a distinct bond between the active and the progressive nature of volume. And where it is simultaneously distinct onto the progressive nature of volume it is. That's why it is as the one identity of volume. It is so, it creates a bond between the active and the inherent nature of volume. It's one identity of volume is. And where it is distinctly onto and as an active value/value progression onto the active volume nature of volume, such as each individual value progression individually grouped together, we're active now. It has a distinct relationship to what is active. That creates a bond between what is inherent and progressive, but it keeps the active in between the inherent and progressive. Semi-natures of the one identity of volume, complete nature of relationship to itself, which is before, and then while as the value of the ground, Earth's ground, native ties to our quality of fact, human nature as volume science. So they offensively have volume theory with physical delusions, with criminally foreign influence premises treatment, sequence treatments to keep this obfuscated. This is the identity the sciences share, identity itself, our course, the way of things, Marx Sings. Keep America great. Can cats eat salamp? I don't know what salamp is. See what? See what is salamp? So we have to have better food too. The only way we can afford the means to do what we have to do, reveal the means that we have to do. Adjust our relationship to space and its space-nature relationship to itself. It's through this method that we have to do with of using pantheism, because we can set it up in every nation at once. It's untapped means. Braden has some great books you should check out on regarding these thoughts. This is science, though, Ponga. These aren't thoughts. This is science about the bonded 5 identities of sequence nature. They are bonded by and as one identity of relationship to itself. But we are not We can only discern this from inside of itself, as value nature inside values nature. Value has a value/value nature relationship to itself, and where the slash symbolizes another semi-nature of volume being made unceasingly, increasingly, which is a body of value bigger than our bodies, while as its value to itself, more and more of its forever nature, that it wants and needs to stay positive unto itself. Per its system, though, now that we have modern value nature systems, all tactically ulterior from, not by accident, the system that is native pure. That's why we have to be trial tribes. We have to unite with Native Americans, and we have to unite every American and every modern nation person to be a native, this native system. Evolution's actual science works with ground. It doesn't leave that out. See, that's science. What denies that has to use physical delusions, has to use criminally foreign influence sciences, not by accident, already standing there abridged. See, God, is there a God? It's twit. God is a scientific variable of algebra in relationship to this science that discerns the difference between. We're speaking about the identity of value progression that is discernible, shared by each individual identity of value progression, each grouped identity of value progression, and then the species bonded identity of value progression simultaneously, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, because the trinity of this identity of value progression is an identity of relationship, is an identity of relationship to itself, and is the value of that. And when we study that on paper, in contemplation, we could demonstrate, and observation, we could also observe that there's also value further, because of how there are 5 bonded identities of sequence nature. So part of space, complete volume, was pushed out of it, while simultaneously its complete volume was filled, because what was pushed out of it was pushed into existence, and what keeps getting pushed out of existence is more being pushed into space, more being self-generated, more making the complete identity more value, making each semi-nature of itself more value, sequentially but simultaneously. So there is an identity of sequence nature that is left to right, and there is an identity of sequence nature that is right to left, and then there is an identity of sequence nature that is the value of these two together, and then there is the value of that further positive or negative. So the top of the Z, if we are positive further to to its system, to its identity of relationship to itself, the top of the Z points back towards A. This is about evolution's fruits and gifts. This is about a means from here. This is the evolution. If we are not its complete course, we stay these tactically ulterior value nature systems that are all tactically ulterior from the value nature system that is values nature system. Nature will continue to demonstrate negative value nature progressions, action natures, and demonstration of it. Uses of treatments of positive that will continually, progressively be exploited, incapable of defending their identities of law treatments, their identities of positive treatments, and us and themselves from what exploits that, not by accident. They use remote, modern nations, semi-ancient religions are about this, how they use remote. God is a scientific variable. If we are right about God, when we are right, it reveals evolution's fruits and gifts and means. When we are wrong about God, it reveals negative value nature progressions, action natures, and demonstration of it. That in demonstration of us being wrong about the identity, that we know this way has an identity of relationship to itself that reveals evolution's fruits and gifts, and though they're lost, length of IDs, force, space, nature, transfer, length of IDs, the river of obscurity, some call it, because but they call it that as victims, but as victims not realizing. This thing popped up, I can't see. So, okay, bye bye. Have a nice day. You too. Thank you guys, everyone, for coming out this night. And don't disbelieve. Whoever wants to be a leader, to have their area represented, to lead, for example, for the rest of New York City, for the rest of the world. Everyone with this pantheism game, we start with rock, republic, organization, coalition. So if you live in a big building, you have big buildings next to it. There's a nature of, you can tell that's never been liberated. Tactically denatured identity of the ground, native pure identity of relationship to itself. See, it's evidence too that and how yin yang was never made a religion. It's evidence itself how that and how Native American rights forsaken with the kindness and with our own still has never become a religion. The liberation of it. It only feels like a game because it's evolution's course. That's evolution's way. It's ways and means. It's the way of fighting. We're all fight, but not one gets hurt and all win. When the evolution is an identity of the relationship to the ground with no criminal foreign influences. The rest of space nature, the rest of Earth's nature has no criminal. The rest of the nature of Earth's identity has no criminal foreign influences. Not by accident. See, that's why. That's only why and how humanity could have stayed with criminal foreign influences so long and not wasted the complete value of Earth. So this way brings reliefs to the fact-cheaping nature of humanity, simultaneously where it brings the physical reliefs by claiming each identity, the ground, location, tactically denatured from the native value progression. That leads us, Campus Marcius, the ancient gaming system, ways, means, evolutions. So this is volume science. Volume theory comes off this. This is the identity of relativity. God theory comes off this. When we speak about God, we're speaking about theory, unless we're using science. That goes using what is true always and not denying exceptions. This is an identity of truth as an identity of value progression. That are exceptions in demonstration of its identity of relationship to itself. All right, thank you for coming out. This is a long video. Thank you.